In the bustling, neon-lit streets of New Bucharest, a sprawling metropolis that blended modern technology with old-world architecture, there was a growing fear no one dared speak about. People were disappearing. High-profile politicians, influential business figures, and everyday citizens alike. Some were last seen leaving extravagant parties, others after late-night meetings, but their bodies were never found. Whispers spread through the city of a shadowy figure pulling the strings behind these mysterious disappearances. Count Vlad Dracul, a name buried deep in the city's history. Centuries ago, Vlad Dracul was known as a ruthless ruler of Wallachia, feared for his cruel methods of torture. His legend had transformed into the myth of Count Dracula, a vampire lord who fed on the blood of the living. But in the modern world, such stories were nothing more than Gothic fiction, or so people believed. Elena Radu, a geneticist and researcher at the forefront of biotechnology, didn't put much stock in old legends. She was more concerned with the results of her cutting-edge research on human longevity, which had recently attracted the attention of some of the wealthiest and most powerful elites in New Bucharest. Her team had been working on a formula that could theoretically slow the aging process, using a combination of stem cells and an ancient genetic code they had unearthed in the Carpathian Mountains. What Eleanor didn't know was that her research had caught the eye of someone far older than she could imagine, Vlad Dracul himself. He had not perished in the 15th century, nor had he become a mere figment of folklore. Instead, Dracula had survived for centuries, manipulating history from the shadows. Unlike the traditional vampire myths, Dracula's longevity was not the result of supernatural powers alone, but of an ancient genetic mutation he had carried since birth. His condition required him to consume human blood, not only for sustenance, but to maintain his near-immortal existence. In the centuries that followed his reign, Dracula had adapted to modern society, using wealth, influence and charm to build a covert empire. He had become a master of hiding in plain sight, posing as a billionaire philanthropist named Vlad Dragomir, a secretive figure whose reach extended into politics, business and even the criminal underworld. But now, after centuries of immortality, Dracula's condition was deteriorating and he was growing weaker. His ancient bloodline was slowly unraveling. Dracula saw Eleanor's research as his salvation. If she could unlock the secret of human longevity, he could stabilize his mutation, ensuring his continued dominance over humanity. But there was one problem. Eleanor's research was incomplete. She was missing a vital piece of the puzzle. A piece that Dracula possessed, the genetic code locked within his own blood. One night, as Elena worked late in her lab, she received a message from a mysterious benefactor offering her unlimited funding for her research. The benefactor introduced himself as Vlad Dragomir and requested a private meeting. Intrigued, Elena accepted, unaware of the ancient predator lurking behind the polished facade. The meeting took place in an opulent penthouse overlooking the city. Vlad Dragomir was handsome and charismatic, with an aura of power that seemed to fill the room. His eyes, though, betrayed something ancient, something dangerous. He spoke to Elena with great interest, praising her work and offering her unlimited resources. But there was one condition: she would have to abandon her current research for a more specific study of human genetics. Eleanor hesitated. She had always been wary of people like Dragomir, men who tried to use science for their own ends, but the allure of his offer, the promise of groundbreaking discovery, tempted her. She agreed to continue her work, but she made it clear that her research would remain under her control. As weeks passed, Elena and her team began to make incredible breakthroughs. With new funding, they decoded parts of the genetic structure that controlled aging, and Dragomir's private donors supplied them with unusual blood samples that seemed to hold the key. But the more Eleanor learned, the more unnerved she became. The genetic markers in these samples were unlike anything she had seen before. They carried signs of extreme longevity, but also traces of something darker, more predatory. It wasn't long before strange things began happening around her. Colleagues started disappearing, leaving cryptic messages before vanishing without a trace. Elena's apartment was broken into, but nothing was stolen. And at night she began to see shadows, tall, dark figures watching her from the corners of her vision. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Eleanor secretly began investigating Vlad Dragomir. What she uncovered shocked her. Documents dating back centuries, linking Dragomir to events throughout history, and strange, recurring references to the name Dracula. Realizing that she was dealing with something far beyond mere science, Eleanor dove into old legends of the Carpathian Mountains, tracing the origins of the Dracula myth and its ties to Vlad the Impaler. One stormy night, while working late in the lab, she was confronted by Dragomir himself. His charming mask had fallen, revealing the ancient terror beneath. Dracula no longer needed to hide. Eleanor had come too close to the truth. He offered her a dark choice: join him, use her research to unlock the full potential of his immortality, or be consumed by the same fate as those who had stood in his way. Eleanor, armed with the knowledge she had pieced together, had one final card to play. She had synthesized a formula from Dracula's blood, a formula that could not only halt his mutation, but destroy it. In a tense standoff, she injected the serum into Dracula, forcing him to confront the one thing he feared more than anything: mortality. As the ancient vampire writhed in agony, his centuries-old body began to decay, collapsing under the weight of time. Dracula's reign had finally come to an end, undone not by a wooden stake, but by the relentless march of science. In the aftermath, Eleanor destroyed the remaining research, ensuring that no one would ever replicate the horrors she had witnessed. But she knew that shadows still lingered in the corners of New Bucharest, and the story of Dracula, like all legends, might never truly die.